Right before Collecticon Dallas a few months ago, we put out a video stating that we'd answer any of your questions that you sent our way. Now, as promised, I've got answers to those questions. First question off the rip. What's the hardest part of being a Pokemon reseller? Well, to me, the hardest part has to be the sustaining of inventory, while also balancing expenses. For example, you're at a card show, you buy a bunch of cards, you trade, you're dishing out cash. At the same time, because you need to sustain that inventory. But at the same time, you have to realize that, the business has to function. It has bills to pay, it has people to pay, it has all these other expenses that are always really never stop. So when you do buy inventory to likely replenish what you already sold, you have to keep in mind that there's costs. So I look at it as a balancing act. You're kind of always juggling these plates. So that's the hardest part to me, cash flow versus like what do you have on your table. If you don't have good inventory, people don't buy from you. But if you have no money, you can't run your business. So that's always a tough one. Next question: did selling ever get slow and discouraging? I would say not slow and discouraging, except for like the mundane tasks like packaging orders all the time. I mean, every morning for the last 4 years, the first thing I do is I wake up, I get some breakfast, and I start packaging orders. I mean, sometimes it's 30 minutes, sometimes it's 4 hours, sometimes it's more than that. And then the post office trip, and that's just the morning. That's like, I can't do anything else until that's done. So that I wouldn't call it discouraging, but it's definitely mundane and tedious and, whatever. It's not the worst thing. The other bit that I don't love is organizing cards. You always are always in a need to sort cards. I mean, I feel like it never stops. You get collections in, you get bulk in, you get, trades in from card shows, all this stuff. You got to sort it, you got to unsleeve it, you got to normalize it, meaning putting it all on like the same type of sleeve. You got to top load it, whatever. You got to price it, you got to condition it. There's this whole system of processes. I don't mind that, but it is tedious, and sometimes it can be like, oh, this again. So next question: how much money do you guys make on average per show? So this is kind of a, there's a lot of variables here because there's so many factors. Size of show matters, where the show is, what time of the year the show is. So I can give a couple examples. We do a monthly card show in Point St. Lucie, my hometown where I grew up. I would say we'll call it a small show. I mean, maybe 500 people walk through the door on a great day. Of those people, there's other sports cards vendors, so I'm one of the few Pokemon vendors. So about half those people go to the Pokemon, half those people go to sports, and there's some toys. We average on about, I would say, $2,000 to $4,000 in sales, and I would say most of that is just singles, ungraded cards, some sealed product, and a few slabs. It's not really a show that slabs don't move at that show. So, but mostly ungraded cards in like the $1 to $20 realm. Like, it adds up. That's an average for that show. Now, there's other shows like Collecticon that we do, and that number is skewed because, again, more people, more foot traffic, higher in inventory. I can bring more because I have more table space. We average the last few shows. Again, it depends. What do I have on the table? How good is my inventory? Do I have more slabs versus singles? Do I bring sealed product? All these are factors, but to give you a round number, I would say average of like $18,000 to $30,000 per Collecticon. Again, this is a big show. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but I would say right in that $20,000-ish mark is average, right, for a show like that. Next question. This is a good one. What is the deciding factor when it comes to keeping something in your personal collection? So for me, I only collect a few Pokemon and a few of the artists that I like. So I'll collect any Pokemon that artist illustrates. So Greninja, Deoxys, Sudowoodo, a few others. Anything illustrated like Komiya, that like goofy style, that I love. I have all these binders. I do love master setting. That's another thing, my collection. I only do light play or better, preferably obviously in your mint. Ooh. What is your favorite Pokemon Stadium game? Well, I only really played Pokemon Stadium 1 primarily. That's the one I was most fond of. I dabbled in Pokemon Stadium 2. Don't really remember the many games, but for the most part, Magikarp Splash has to be by far my favorite Pokemon Stadium game. Just the timing, there's skill involved. It's fast paced. Oh man, me and my buddies when we were kids, man, we would go in that game. A lot of good memories there. How far out do you feel comfortable going to shows? Really, there's nothing out of limits. It has to make sense to the business cost wise. I can't. International shows would be lovely, but it's expensive, and I have to fly a crew out, and then I got to pay them, and then the lodging and all the other logistics that needs to happen. I'm open to it, but it has to make sense to the business cost wise. So maybe in the future, maybe it just depends. We'll kind of feel it out as we go. Ooh, here's a great question and probably a long-winded one. How did you get started, and what advice can you give? So two-part question. How did I get started? It was an accident. I would call it an accident because it wasn't on purpose. I didn't intend to build the Pokemon business. So story time. When I was a kid, did Pokemon, had a pretty decent collection, Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh. My Yu-Gi-Oh was probably worth more because I did a lot of tournaments, collected it, ripped a lot of booster box. Pokemon, I just had, pretty much the first few sets and a little bit of Neo and whatever. Again, good value. So my intention was sell it all, get rid of it, get the cash. I had just bought a house. This is 2017, 18. My goal was to renovate, use all that money and dump it in the house, new roof, whatever it needs, it goes there. So I did that. I had some amiibos too, sold that. Had a bunch of cash. During that time, I had a colleague and an old friend, like an old childhood friend, reach out. They were like, hey, I had been talking about me selling my cards, and I guess they heard it, or somebody talked to somebody. They came to me and said, hey, I want to sell my cards. Will you buy them? I'm like, okay, sure. Made him an offer, bought them. That happened like 2 times, 2 different people within months of each other. So I bought 2 collections. I don't remember the values, but they were less than $5,000, more than $1,000. Great stuff. So I had sold my collection, had cash, bought a collection, started selling it, bought another collection, started selling it. And then at that point, I had a pretty nice chunk of change. And I just kind of said to myself, like, what else is it? Like, what can I keep doing this? Fast forward maybe a year or two, 2018, 19, I got distributors for sealed product and started selling sealed product. And this was right before the COVID boom. I got it like lucky by the grace of the Pokemon gods. Got a distributor before COVID and then flew through the COVID boom. So, and then, I formatted the LLC somewhere in that realm, TBC Games. But again, it wasn't my intention. It just kind of kept happening. It kept steamrolling. I was like, there's something here. Then eventually I did card shows. That was my big eye-opening, like, okay, there's something else here. Like, let's keep pushing that, but let's keep letting that roll. And I haven't stopped since. So it's been 4 or 5 years since that train has departed the station, and I don't regret it. I've had lots of fun. I quit my full-time job as a cybersecurity engineer, and yeah. Now, part 2 of the question, what advice do I have? The most sound advice I can give anybody, at least from my experience, is, embarking on a business adventure is probably don't buy too much too fast. Find product, find inventory at reasonable prices and sell it fast, okay? Don't buy, sell, buy, sell. You have to buy it, sell it fast, get the money back in, because cash flow is extremely important to the business. If you don't have cash flow, you're dead in the water. If you don't know that, you'll learn it real quick. So that's it. Don't buy too much at first, especially when you're starting out. If you have $100, spend half that, make $20, okay, and just do small flips. Don't pull credit, at least not at first. Don't bite too much off. That's probably the most sound advice. There's definitely more to it. You're gonna have to experiment. It's okay to fail. All that other jazz. Next question: what was the turning point for you to be? This is what I want to do full time. I was a penetration tester, working in the cybersecurity industry, ethical hacker. I was just pen testing web apps, networks, internal networks, external networks, anything security computer related. I was sitting in a chair all day, about 40, 45 hours a week in the chair, glued to the thing, emails, pen testing, writing reports, mundane stuff. Loved the job. Fantastic job. Paid really well. I was happy. Great benefits. None of that was the issue. It was sitting in the chair. I'm young. I didn't love the idea of sitting in the chair for the next, my career. Pokemon got me out of the chair, for the most part. Got me out of the shows, out of the house, meeting new people. It definitely, opened up that side of my life. And I realized that I wanted that more. I wanted the social aspects plus working for myself. once we were able to generate enough in sales via our eBay, Amazon, online store, card shows, and TCG Player, that was enough to me. Okay, we're doing more in sales than I'm making in a year. I feel comfortable taking a step back and figuring it out from there. So that was it. I took the leap, and it was not an easy decision, mind you. It was the hardest decision I've ever made in my life. Really nice paying job for an unknown. What's gonna happen? Who knows? Blah, 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 you know. Luckily, I don't have kids. I just have a fiance. That's it. So as far as risk, my mortgage is quite cheap. So I had a lot of those things there that a lot of other people don't. So, you know, I would say I'm lucky in that regard. But anyways, all of those things combined equals, okay, let's see what happens. And if I fail, then I could just go back to doing what I was doing, and, you know, hey, life goes on. So how do you keep everything organized, and where do you know where specific things are? It's a great question. That has a lot of answers to it. Let's start with singles. Also, within singles, you have the TCG Player inventory, and you also have a card show inventory. So TCG Player inventory, I'll cut to me showing you what it looks like. But I built this cabinet. It looks like a tower. Pull out drawers. The very top cabinet, just my TCG Player inventory, and it's organized by set. And within that, it's organized by condition, near mint, light play, etc. That's that. Now, card show inventory, I have a few different things. If I'm traveling or if I'm local, I just kind of like a long box of cards. You put them in there. Some of them are top loaded. Some of them aren't, depending on like value. I also have like binders that are themed. Like, here's all my Pikachus, here's all my Charizards, here's all the full arts, here's all the full art train, etc. So there's like, you know, a stack of binders. I'll show you those. Everything else I have like backstock of bulk. It's all, I'll show you that, but it's just bunches of boxes, bulk, organized by set, and then within those sets, it's organized by color with trainers at the back, and at the very front, it's like the holos, reverses, so it's all like kind of separated. So if I need to find, you know, a reverse holo Ponyta from, you know, Evolutions, like I know roughly where, like go to the Evolutions, it's going to be in the front somewhere, look through it. Everything else, like we have a small little storage space for all of our sealed products. So when a order comes in from the store, I go pull it, I package it, and all that jazz. That's separate, just sealed product for that. Beyond that, yeah, it's about all it is. Singles isn't too bad as long as you stay organized, which is always the tough part. But you know, it's part of the grind. So, last question, and this was a simple one, and probably straight to the heart. Advice for going full time. If I had to sum it up, I would say slow and steady. Don't rush. Figure it out. Fail. Ask questions. Meet new people. All those things. You know, don't spend too much money all at once. You know, do your research. You know, slow and steady. That's my advice. Anyways, hope this AMA was cool. I hope to see you guys at more card shows. Everybody here is awesome. I don't know how we got here. I'm not, my mind's blown. So thanks for everything, and until next time.